So since I roped her, I have to do the introductions. Marcia is replaced me as the registrar of the Penobscot Expedition Chapter DAR, and as such, she has done a wonderful job, and she said she was willing to give a talk because I was tired of doing this talk, or versions of it. And so I welcome you, Marcia, and here you go.
All right, thank you. Here, and hand that to Sharon. Thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody. I have to stand here to be able to move from one slide to the next, and so that the microphone will carry my voice, so I will be here quite a bit of the time. As Deb said, she is the one that recruited me. I started genealogy just a few years ago and was really enjoying it. I had met my initial goal of identifying everybody in a family photo from 1915 where there were 3 generations. And those were the people that my sister was asking me about. But it was so much fun, and it appealed to me so much that I went ahead and went back. And while I made progress, there were 2 people with very common names that I suspect were immigrants because they're not in the older records anywhere. And I came to the Wawenoc, did I say it right, Deb? Wawenoc. Close enough. There you go, they said it, I hope you could hear it. Genealogy group. And while I was here, I was asking about my brick walls and mentioned my grandmother, who was a big fan of the DAR. And then I was shuttled over to Deb. And the rest was history. 5 minutes. It didn't take long, but it has been fun. So today we're taking advantage of the fact that we're entering the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, and more people are interested in finding out if there are patriots in their family. So that is what we will focus on today. This is Deb's talk. I had written down all the points I wanted to make based on my experience as a registrar, and then I looked at her presentation, and she did the same thing, but she had better examples because she had 6 years of being the registrar, and I've only had 6 months. So I'm using her presentation, and I appreciate being able to do that. Did we go down? Okay, so we're going to go back one. So everyone here probably knows what the Daughters of the American Revolution is, the DAR, but there may be some people who watch the video later who don't know. It is a nonprofit, non-political organization that is dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and education. It is a lineage society, so you have to have a direct line ancestor who supported the American cause during the Revolutionary War. My slides are not progressing here. I don't know why, but we'll go forward. What is a registrar? There are people in our group that will always ask me to define terms. And again, if there are people who are not familiar with the DAR, a registrar is the person that helps you. If you have questions about the DAR, and in particular, if you have questions about how to fill in your application, work with the registrar. That's what she's here for. That's what she wants to do, is to help you, and she will, in fact, help you. This is a brand new screen. It was installed over the weekend, and so we're learning about it today. Sometimes the pointer works, sometimes it doesn't. So the application is only 4 pages long. The first page is about you, how do we contact you? The second page is your lineage to prove that you're related to the Patriot. The source page tells where the primary sources are that you use to prove your lineage. And then the 4th page is service. It sounds simple, but the DAR wants you to have really good records, and they want you to document that well and in their format. And you really benefit from having an experienced registrar to do that for you. There are other things that we do, but you can read the slide. What is a DAR patriot? And why are we talking about the DAR so much when we're looking for patriots? The DAR has a solid database of patriots that have been proven, and that's a huge benefit when you're looking for a patriot. The database is online, and I'll show you how to search that database to make your finding a patriot easier and documenting that relationship to that patriot easier. Most people would assume that military service would qualify your ancestor as a patriot, and that would be true. That is the majority of the patriots. But you can also qualify with patriotic service, which would be the oath of allegiance. In 1776, you had to publicly declare, were you on the American side or were you on the Loyalist side? That documentation is used today as part of the DAR. You could pay a supply tax, you could supply tax, you could furnish supplies, or you could loan money to the cause. Civil service was working for the government as a town clerk, as a constable, a policeman. You could be a surveyor of highways, you could be a juror or a fence viewer. These are the tools that we use most often as we go through and look for patriots. We start with a 5 or 6 generation chart. You'll see some of each in the presentation today. It doesn't matter. You're going to go through more than one page of ancestors anyway. We have the advanced search capability of the DAR Descendants database. We'll show you that. We use Ancestry Public Trees. That is a paid service that is popular. Another service is Family Search, and that is a free service, and both have many, 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 many family trees out there already, and many times you can piggyback on those. You just have to double check everything that you see on either side. Then you should work with the registrar to help finalize formatting. We have an application. We have an app for that. It's called Build an App for Application. We have Patriot records. I'll show you those. And if you're not already familiar with full text search, that's been a game changer within Family Search. I know the people here in the genealogy group are already well familiar with that, but anybody else who had done their genealogy a long time ago may not be familiar with this wonderful new tool that's now available. So that's your 5-generation chart. And people will put themselves here, their father and their mother, and usually they'll know their grandparents, but if they don't, we'll go with what you have. You want to start what you know and then move into history across the chart. We do want you to put in both your father and your mother because you could have patriots on either side or both sides. But what we're really looking for is finding a patriot that's already proven, because that is the number one easiest way to join the DAR or the SAR. So here's an example of a very high achiever. You've already met her. Deb Nowers has been a genealogist for 20 years. She's also been in the DAR 20 years, and so she was able to fill in her entire chart and had already proven each of the individuals. I don't know if you can see the right-hand column there, but she went all the way back to the 1700s. That is important because what you want to do to find a patriot is you want to find an adult. You want to find a person who was an adult in 1755 to 1783, because that is the time of the American Revolution. Now, in this case, because she was an experienced genealogist, she had already proven Deacon Daniel Putnam. Good thing I practiced this talk because it's hard for me to Putnam from this. I think I know what I said. Okay. So we go to the DAR.org website. That's this upper screen here. You click on this, what is highlighted in red. It says genealogy. And then you click on Ancestor Search. This is the kind of screen you'll see. We put in Putnam and Daniel, the name. And in this case, we know the state, so we put that in. And this is the DAR record that comes up on the database. You'll see that 4 people have signed up on him, and it has his birth date and place, his death date and place. It has his service, and you can see that of these 4 people, they all joined on the son Daniel. But we're going to look at a couple of the other people on the chart. Hezekiah, king, and his son Samuel, king, where the red arrows are. And the reason we're going to do that is to show you that capitalization really doesn't matter when you're doing the searching, but spelling does. I can barely say Hezekiah, let alone spell it. Spelling is not my jam. So I would put in H-E-Z. You can put in just part of the name, and it will bring up every name that begins with the H-E-Z. In this case, the match is on Hezekiah, king number 2. And again, you see the birth and death dates and locations, and you see that he'd been married twice, and only one person had joined on him. And that was through the daughter Sarah. And for Deb, her Patriot lineage goes through the son Samuel. So this could be a supplemental application. You join the DAR on a Patriot. Once you have a proven Patriot, you can become a member. It happens simultaneously. But you want to honor all of the Patriots in your family, and so you will often apply to have your name connected with multiple Patriots. And usually, if you have one Patriot in your family, you have more than one Patriot in your family. And it can be very exciting to learn that. So this would be Patriot number 2 for Deb, if she could pursue Samuel. So it's not going down. You use the touch. Let me go over to that side. Here we go. Oh,
Nope.
Using the mouse didn't work either.
So you can all learn how to spell Hezekiah. Please practice. There will be a quiz at the end.
Okay, all right, I got
Thank
it
you,
somehow.
Kathy. Okay, great. So what about his son Samuel? In this case, Hezekiah was an older patriot, and his son would probably be the right age to be in a patriot. We checked the database, the ancestor database, and he's not there. So what's the second best way to find a patriot? And that is to look to see if he has a pension. And often people will go to Ancestry and under military do keyword search on pension and bounty land. Again, I don't type any more than I have to. That's the full name of the category within the card catalog. We'll see. All right. This is a government military index card. It's an official card. And it does have Samuel King. Can you guys see that? He was served in Connecticut. It's the right one. His wife was Betsy, so that's right. But there's a W in front of his pension number. What do you think that means? Well, wounded is a good guess, but widow is what it really means. And so we go in and we look at that pension. It is there on Ancestry. And like most pension applications, it's a gold mine. Here you can find out that you had to prove when you were married if you're going to qualify as a widow. So the marriage information is there in the top line. You also see the marriage date and the maiden name. You have information from the state comptroller, makes it pretty official, that he was on the Connecticut line of the Continental Army, and that you notice she was 85 when she applied for his pension. You had to participate in the American Revolution. You had to survive. You had to survive for a really long time to qualify for a pension. But 1835, yeah. So most of them were dead, and that was a combination of the government was young and didn't have a whole lot of money, and it was really hard to fund these pensions, but they did end up wanting to honor the people that had served. So, in fact, Samuel could be a supplemental patriot for Deb. So we skipped a slide. I added pictures, Deb. I love pictures.
When I did it the first time, I had a picture of the Y.
Oh, so Deb was saying that the first time she gave this talk, she had a picture of the Y. Deb's an outgoing person. She's a whole lot of fun. She makes our meetings fun. So many members have commented about what a fun DAR group we have, and that's absolutely true. she'll talk to anybody, and she'll listen to what they say, and then she'll build on that. So her friend was telling her that she had a portrait of one of her ancestors who had been the purser on the USS Constitution during the War of 1812, which was a very important ship. It captured many merchant ships, and it also captured 5 military ships. So very successful ship and well honored. Now let's see if I can say this correctly. I looked it up and tried to memorize it. It is the oldest commissioned warship in the world that is still floating. Hallelujah, we got it right. So it's important. And so I don't know if this is the exact portrait. There were multiple portraits of Thomas, I can't read the name.
John.
Thank you, Thomas John Chew. And his dates are obviously 1812. So high achiever that Deb is, she went and looked and extended the family tree to the 1700s and went to look him up. And it's doing it again. I'm going to try that. Nope. Okay. So that was something up at the top. Okay. So future applicants must prove correct service. So if you can look over to the right, you'll see that 3 people had joined on this Patriot, but the national number of the first person to join on this Samuel Swift was a long time ago, one of the first 1,000 daughters of the American Revolution. And a lot of that lineage was based on family folklore, which is a bad plan. Nowadays, the standards for joining the DAR are much more stringent, and you need primary sources. And the good news is you can see that the bottom national number is much higher. That's a number from 1992, and in fact, you can still join on this Patriot. And the original daughters are still considered daughters because we appreciate the service that they gave to their community and to the DAR. And our friend did join on Foster, the son of Samuel Swift. Okay, but we have other ways to prove Samuel Swift's service. We have what we call an internal database, the Patriot Records Project. And we went and looked and put in just the last name Swift and the state where they served, and some records came up. It was not Samuel Swift, but perhaps his widow, Anne. And I like the bottom line best, so I go to that first. She had lent money to the government, and so to the cause, and so she's a female patriot. Hallelujah. Now, because this is an internal database, people who are prospects to the DAR cannot go in and look at it, but if they're nice to the registrar will look. And then if they find a match, then the prospective can order a copy of it for a nominal fee. Regular DAR members can also search the database. So now we move on to the descendants database within the DAR. I learned your trick, Sharon. I think so. I'm bouncing on it. I'm up at the top. Oh. Resume slideshow. You've got to do a double hit? No?
It's Sharon's magic fingers.
It is.
I know.
Sharon's magic fingers. Okay, but now we need to go back, I think. Oh, no. Okay, so this is reality. You saw a beautiful type chart that was much easier to read here as a presentation, but this is what we really do. We take a pencil and a piece of paper and the information that the family could give. And as we mentioned, usually they can put themselves, their father, and their mother. And then sometimes they can do the grandparents. Statistically, only 40% of the people know the name of their grandparents these days. But we will use our tricks and tips, and we will help find the names in your family. We only put down the names that we can find a document on. You can see an obit, find a grave, a marriage record. We go back, and back in the time frame of the 1800s is a really good time to use the descendants database. So we're going to take this husband and wife combination, We're going to enter it into the descendants database. The husband's name goes on top. We can't change that. That's the way it goes. We can live with it. The wife's name at the bottom. And we're using the advanced search. The advanced search is the only place within the descendants database that you can put both the husband and the wife's names. And hallelujah, we found some patriots. Not just one, but 3 patriots for these 2 names. So we will, let me look at the next slide. Yes, hallelujah. So what happens is, by looking at each of those 3 patriots and the lineage that was proven for them, we can then build out the tree. Oh, didn't like me going back. I'm going to try and do it.
I know.
This is Sharon. This is Sharon. She's the wonderful librarian that supports the genealogy group. We love her.
Thank you.
So what we did as we filled that in is we paid attention to the national numbers of the members who joined the DAR. And then the person with the national number that is the highest is the one that you're most likely to be able to prove your ancestor on. And what we can do is use that number in conjunction with the build-in app, and it will pre-fill the data that's already proven. So the names and the dates and the places are filled in, and you also do not have to find those source documents again. And that's another blessing. So it helps you whether you as a DAR member use the build-in app or whether you work with the registrar. It's just a blessing to have the application. So what kind of documents do you use to prove your lineage? The vital records like the birth, death, marriage, obituaries, they're wonderful for proving relationships, Bible records, some family histories, some town and county histories. And the reason that it's only some is, again, some of those histories are based on family lore, folklore, myths within the town, propaganda for tourists. We need to find what's real. So if they're well sourced and we can find where that data came from, they're more likely to be accepted. But we also love the probate and the deeds. In terms of proving the service, these are the reference books most often used by the genealogist to verify what we submit. The Massachusetts Soldiers and Sailors, very much used in this part of the country. The Record of Connecticut Men, the New Hampshire Revolutionary War records, and the Vermont Rolls of Soldiers. We want to take the opportunity here to mention that the Massachusetts Soldiers and Sailors is an 18-volume set. There are so many people that still need to be honored and recognized for their service that we would welcome having more members join the DAR and provide that honoring. We would also encourage people to join the Sons of the American Revolution and other lineage societies that honor those patriots. And the 250th anniversary is not just one day, it's not just 1 year. The war went on for multiple years, and so will the 250th anniversary. So you still have time to apply and recognize those patriots. Can you tell I had a sales background? So another tool that's available from the DAR is the Learn Web Skills, and it is superb. I like the fact that it has, I don't know, we'll see if this works over there. No, we almost got it, there it is. State-by-state sources to prove your ancestor, as well as the general reference materials, and a fabulous tutorial. I've watched the tutorial 5 times, no exaggeration. So we mentioned earlier the family search, full text search. I'm thinking it's about a year and a half now. It is so exciting. I've always been a software person, I've always been a database person, and I could not contain myself when this came out. I ended up preempting some librarians when we were talking about it, which you're not supposed to do. But anyway, so you go to Family Search, Again, it's free to use. You just need to sign up and have a user ID and password. You go to search on the top bar, and then you say full text search. And this is an example of where we are searching for Albert Nichols. And he was born at sea. It's a name you'd recognize here where the sea capitals captains were so prevalent. He doesn't have a birth certificate, but we still needed to prove his parents in that relationship. So we put in a search for the time that he was in Maine, and we hit search. We got 191 results. I'm pretty stubborn, and I really spend a lot of time searching, but I will not do 191 results. So what do? Notice the search tips over there on the right side of the screen. You can always go back and review those later, and I recommend you do. On the left side of the screen, and we kind of cheated, we didn't show that on the previous slide, the left side of the screen is a filter option, and this cut it off, but even on this screen, you can see that you can filter on collection, year, or place. We searched on United States, then Maine, and then Waldo County, hit apply, and we're down to just 20 results. 20 results, that's real doable. And what we find is that family search and the full text search capability is using optical character recognition, and it's using AI. So if you have a typed document or if you have a handwritten document, it can transcribe the document for you, and that's why it's so wonderful. The problem is there's still errors, but it's easier to see and read the errors and then find out what the document says than it is to search through the original old image. I think I'm touching this multiple times. I think that's what's happening.
What kind of errors? Like 1 or 2?
So it might make an L, an F, the old-fashioned letters look funny. It may just read the whole word wrong. You can usually tell. Proper noun. Numbers and proper nouns. Well, that's true. Rick is saying that it's really does a good job on the handwriting, and some of the handwriting just cannot be figured out. Even though we know script and we know old script, it's still hard to read. And some images are so messy. There's so much smeary black ink. You would think it would not be able to figure out what is underneath it, but it does, and it's really helpful. So in this case, I should have said when we put our search terms in, we used quotes around Albert Nichols because we did not want every Albert and we did not want every Nichols. We only wanted the Albert Nichols. So again, that's part of the search term tips. But this document, the original is nice and clean. It's fairly readable in the script, but it's still helpful to have the keywords highlighted in yellow, and it's still helpful to have the transcription over to the right. There'll be other examples. So in this case, we're looking at a deed record, and we've done enough background research to know that Reuben Knowlton had a daughter, Annis Knowlton, but she married a William Flanders. And so we wanted to find out, can we prove that Annis Flanders is the daughter of Reuben Knowlton? We put in a plus to say the name Flanders had to be there. We put in the location and 33 results, and we found one that looked like ours. Now, I think Deb cheated on this one, but she says she didn't. She doesn't remember cheating. This looks like it came from the town office, the deed office in town. In the old days, you had to get in your car and you had to go to the town office to look at the deed. Nowadays, these are online, along with so many, millions and millions and millions of documents are in the family search. And they are, well, yeah, Deb said that these were just right downtown. But, so you've got a beautiful typed deed, and it does mention the fact that Reuben did have the daughter Annis, who is the wife of William Flanders, and so we've proven the relationship. But when I did the full text search, that's the document that I got. And that can, you can do that for an hour or two a day, but then your eyes start to get cramped. And so it's really nice to have the transcription. And for long, messy documents, up to the right, there's a summarize the document. So if it's a complex legal document and you want to know what in the heck is going on, you can hit that and instantaneously you get a paragraph or two. And oh my gosh, that is so handy. So in this case, what we were able to do is see that the same conclusion. It mentions Annis is now Annis Flanders and is still the daughter of Reuben. So I wanted to put in a plug for the SAR. They have a database that works pretty much the same. If you go to sar.org, you get this top screen over here on the right. And if you click on PRS, you have to know what PRS is, but now that you know, you can hit that and then go over and hit Patriot Search. And you put in the name, the last name, and the first name, and you get hits. And actually, you get a lot of hits. Their database is much bigger. And the reason is they give you the benefit of the doubt. These are not all proven. Some of these you'll not, actually, some of them are flat out wrong. One of my relatives, an early DAR person was volunteering, had entered information about one of my grandfathers, and it's just wrong. But luckily, another DAR woman came along and volunteered and entered the correct information from his pension application. And that was the first time I was able to find the pension number for that grandparent. So I'm very grateful that this option is here. I worked with another prospective member this past week, and she had family folklore, and she was sure she had a patriot in her family. And we didn't see the person in the Ancestor database. And she sat there pretty quietly for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then she kind of pouted and said, I don't understand why my patriot's not in your database. And I said, well, just a second. And we went on over to the Sons of the American Revolution. He was listed there. And when we looked at the page, and the page is very much like the DAR. You've got the birth, the death, the service. You've got the wives' names, the children's names. You have an additional tab there. You may or may not be able to see it in this. But it is also called additional information. And we clicked on that. And someone had gone in on that Patriot and said, as of 2025, nobody had joined on them. Not in the SAR or the DAR. So that person has the opportunity to join the DAR on a proven patriot and then do a supplemental and honor that other patriot that she obviously cared about very much. And I think that's fantastic. And I will tell you that on here you also have the ability, it tells you, are they a DAR ancestor with this lovely DAR logo? It'll tell you whether where the cemetery is that they're buried in, and they'll tell you whether or not anybody has joined the SAR on them. That's the A. And then if there's a B, it means that there's a biography. And the vast majority of them do not have a biography attached. And I thought that's something we needed to address. So for the Patriot I joined the DAR on, I went ahead and submitted a biography. And the biography was so interesting and exciting to learn because I went in and found the details of the battle that he had fought in. And it changed my whole perspective. I had known about that family having patriots in it from the time I was 10 years old. It has been a long time. I had never looked at the battle, and I didn't know that the battle literally took place in their neighborhood, and one of their houses had been burned down by the British. Their church had been burned down. It was winter. It was incredible. Well, I will also tell you that my husband does living history programs, and I had been down to many living history programs in South Carolina, and I recognized the names of the generals that were supporting my family when they fought the British there, and we won. So if you have the opportunity, I would encourage you to go put a biography out on your ancestors, on the sons of the American Revolution. And they review it, and they look at the sources. You have to list sources. And they turned it around and made it public within 2 weeks. So very exciting. I look at my slides and I go, that slide's at the beginning of the presentation. Yeah, Kathy? I looked at I knew what battles they were in. I knew who the officers are. The officers are listed on both the SAR and the DAR. And you can put that into a search on the internet, and it'll tell you the battles that they fought in. And then I knew that my family lived in that area, so I knew very much that that was the battle. Plus, it was in New Jersey, it was Springfield, and I'll tell you, I wasn't going to, but my Patriots have been in Ripley's, believe it or not. And the funny thing is, one of my friends, so there was a really nice farm ad listed in 1762 from one of my ancestors. And I mentioned it to some women up here and said that it was advertised in New Jersey, but it was also advertised in Staten Island. Well, my friend had lived in New Jersey and took the bus over to Staten Island for $1 frequently as a teenager. And so she really wanted to know where was this. And it turns out the name of the place had changed over time. And so she didn't initially recognize it, but she had driven by that location every day for 20 years going to work. So it was really fun. And so she's got me looking at the Facebook page for that group. It's Livingston, New Jersey. And just a month ago, there was a man on that Facebook group going, I don't understand why we don't have a street named after Timothy Meeker. It turns out he was in his 70s. He and 9 of his sons, 4 of his son-in-laws, and 2 of his grandchildren participated in that battle. And it was such a big deal to have that many soldiers, fighters, militiamen in the battle that George Washington came and visited and ended up having supper there. So it all made a really good story for the Ripley, believe it or not, but almost 250 years later, people still want to have him. And it was funny because somebody said, well, I went to school with a Meeker. And the original guy said, oh, really? Is he still here? He could be a cousin. I'd like to go meet him. So 250 years later, does it matter? Yes, it still matters. Thank you, Sharon. This worked perfectly at home with my computer when I practiced. Okay, so you found a Patriot. Now what? You can join the DAR. You can join any of these other organizations. They are lineage societies. You would need to go in and look at their requirements for proof of lineage and service, or you can just know. And even though I know that because I've learned so much from joining the DAR. You get to choose the service that you do in your community, and you get to decide how much you want to explore your heritage, and whether you don't have to do genealogy, but if you want to, there are other people that know how to do genealogy, or they know about groups like this where the genealogy happens. And I've joined on one of my Patriots, but I do know that I've got at least 5 others. And just knowing that has made a difference. I didn't know about the others until after I joined the DAR, and I was working on this presentation, and I was using the Descendants database, and I found more Patriots, and it was really wonderful. We're almost at the end. These are the resources that we use today. The DAR genealogy tab with the ancestor search and the descendant search. The Revolutionary War pensions and bounty lands, those are available, like we said, on Ancestry also, Family Search. There are other general pension-related references. The Massachusetts U.S. Soldiers and Sailors the Learn Web Skills and FamilySearch.org. And if you have questions, we have contact information. For the Penobscot expedition, we have an email. If you're interested in other chapters in Maine of the DAR website listed 25 chapters. I thought we had 29, but it listed 25. I counted this morning.
There are 18.
Oh, Deb thinks there's 18, and she's been state registrar.
We have people from other states, so there's DAR in other states as well.
Right, and so that's why I put the DAR.org. If you go to DAR.org and express interest, they will review that and they will send you the information, or they'll send your information to that organization that's closest to you. And with so many DAR chapters here, or any other place, you have the opportunity to go in and attend a meeting or two and see if that's a group you're compatible with and would like to join. So thank you very much for your time. Any questions? Yes, Jill? Okay.
It's a little bit of, it's a little bit of knowledge. When you were talking about the USS Constitution, as a lot of us know, it's still in existence and it's in Boston Harbor and you can go visit it. But I don't know if any of you were here years ago. Each year they have to turn that boat around so that it wears evenly because it's made of wood.
Yeah.
And if any of you knew Arthur Fournier, who had the tugboats here in town, he bid on that. It's a bidding, who's going to do it, of course, for the cheapest. He bid 1 penny, and he won it.
He wanted to be the one to be on that ship. Good for him. Yes? He did say that they take it out once a year, so it does get under sail. Okay, this lady here.
You had a reference. You had a reference for something called LearnWebSkills.com. Could
Yes.
you talk about that?
So I am very impressed by the women that I meet in the DAR. Number one, we all make an effort to get along, and so it's just a pleasant experience. But they're so smart, and they're so engaged in different activities. Debbie DeWay is a longtime DAR member, and also a PhD. And what she has done is take the experience that she's had with the DAR and just make it real practical so that you can quickly learn what it is to be in the DAR, how to go in and find your lineage, how to go in and find the sources to prove your lineage, the primary documents, primary sources, and to prove the service. I mean, I've spent months before I joined the DAR finding those items, and if I had known about her website and her tutorials with videos as well as links, I could have saved so much time.
So it's pertinent to DAR in particular.
Well, it's to the American Revolution in particular, yes. Okay.
The captain of the Constitution is a woman.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, that's all.
The other comment was, how long is that going to last? Okay, so the comment is that is a Navy ship, regular duty assignments out there on that ship, USS Constitution. Yes, Kathy?
I wanted to thank you for getting me out of hot water, potentially. I am also a member of the DAR, have multiple supplements, at which point my mother says, why do we have to keep adding supplements at a check per supplement that you add? And I said, because it's really cool to find. And then his son and his uncle. And so at the sake of keeping family peace, the Patriots, the supplements that I want to add moving forward are those that are not on DAR, and I want to find my woman. So
It is so important for the family, but it's also important for future generations. So thank you for doing multiples. We appreciate that. Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.